UFC Fight Night, Perez versus Taira. We're going to go over a lot of things in this video, but first off, thank you to everybody who's watching. For those of you that have followed us every week, this video is just going to have a very different feel for it. Jim and I are like on opposite sides and on most of the fight. So this will be very different. I appreciate everybody following. Go ahead and hit the like button. Let's get right into it with the first fight here, Jim, and then we'll start going over some other topics. And at the end, I think we might do I would like to do a PFL recap in terms
Oh,
of what
love
did we
to.
learn about betting PFL. So at the end, we'll kind of go over what happened last night and how it can affect us moving forward. But let's start with our girl, Josefine Knutsson, who we've correctly predicted her last two fights to win by decision. She's
Mhm.
fighting Julia Polastri. A little bit of money has come in on her. I will go first. I was on Josephine on her contender series. Loved her matchup on contender series. Predicted her to win by decision. She does that. She faces Marnik Man again. Let's go with Knudsen by decision. She does that. So Knudsen, she's she's got a really good extensive background. It only shows like 7-0, but like she's been there. She does she did the kickboxing thing, which doesn't go into her record for MMA,
Mhm.
but she's got a lot of kickboxing. What's interesting about her is she does use her kickboxing, but there's a lot of clinch work, and her clinch is very good.
Mhm.
She's very strong for her size. She can hold opponents up against the fence. She can land inside the clinch. As soon as I saw this matchup, I was like, "Oh, I'm on Knudsen big. I can't believe it's only minus 180." I went back and watched Julia Polastri, and I got to tell you, her fight on Contender Series where she's coming off, I didn't remember being impressed with her, and I went back and watched, and I think her striking is a lot better than what I had envisioned. I will say she's powerful. I'll give
Mhm.
her that. She throws with a lot of power. On the flip side, she's wild. Her striking defense is really bad. It's open if anybody wants to counter. I don't know if she's really fought somebody that could really test that style. I think Knudsen's kickboxing background is going to be big. A lot of Polastri with her hands down. She got the win with really strong, aggressive takedown, nice submission. It wasn't a fluke win or anything. I like Knudsen. I loved her at the very beginning. I've kind of softened up just a little bit. I do think she wins, but then I just go back to some of these judging, and I'm like, do I
Mhm.
really want to side in a
Yeah.
very close women's MMA fight? So for me, I lean Knudsen. It's crazy to think, but the judging almost has me worried that it's not really worth it. What's your take on this fight?
I like Knutson. Same thing. I went back and looked. I think that her striking is a class above. I understand the power coming from the other side, but I don't think that Palastri's going to have anything that she hasn't seen before. The only way I would see her getting in trouble is going to be ground because you see a lot of Palastri's wins are by submission. But Knutson, like you said, is so good in the clinch, and her takedown defense is solid, and she's just a physical, kind of imposing person. She's not big, but I mean, she's just a solid girl. She's very intense at face-offs. I like you had mentioned the other week about how she's always gonna have that chip on her shoulder. Oh,
I do
and you
love
can
that
kind of
about
see in
her.
it, man. She still has that chip on her shoulder a little bit. So I like Knutson. I do think this fight goes the distance. I think the only way it could probably end is going to be if Polastri gets a quick submission, gets a takedown, gets to the back. Knutson falls in something, but I don't know if people are a little down on Knutson for not finishing Marnik Man, but Marnik Man's shown, if anything, that she's tough. Like she could take a 3-round beating. I like Knutson. I like Knutson. Money is coming in on Knutson. She was 180. She's up to 185. So, I put a little bet earlier on Knutson earlier in the week, and I'm just going to roll with that. This is not the best card, so I think that people that we like, I'm going to try to stick to here and not try to fabricate bets where there's none there.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. We talked on PFL last night, and I do believe in this. There is a weird energy in the UFC right now.
Mm-hmm.
There is just it's chaotic. It doesn't feel. I mean, they're organized, but the McGregor fiasco. When isn't McGregor a fiasco? Like
Mm-hmm.
the Carlos, the Jamal Hill, like Carlos Holberg is now fighting Anthony Smith for
Yeah.
reasons unknown, unknown to to everybody. There's just a lot of weirdness, and this card, man, is it weird. We already lost Olbeck off earlier today because he couldn't even sniff the right weight,
Didn't
and
even
looked
look like he
terrible.
tried really.
It
Like
was bad.
I think it could have been an injury. It's ugly lately, man. Just
Yeah.
ugly.
So like Jim's not even going to be doing takedown live tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm going to do it with this card. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of slam dunk home runs. We did good in PFL. We hit our two wager talk props. We'll get into how we hit our two wager
Hmm.
talk official plays. But I guess what I'd say is if you're a little on edge about this card, like we are, there is no reason to force
No.
bets on this one. If there was a card that's like, maybe stay away, maybe only have like one or two bets, this is absolutely it. We'll go through these, but there's just not a lot of consensus plays that Jim and I are like, oh yeah, we absolutely love that one.
Hmm.
So just make sure we're practicing good bankroll management and be safe with your bankroll this weekend. Let's talk Shayilan, Nuerdanbieke, and Mel Costa. I'll let you go first on this one.
I mean, this is another one that's just I can't get there on either guy. We've seen the faults in both of them. Costa, I didn't think he looked great on the scales. He's got good wrestling. He's got good stand up. I would say Shayilan has the more power. He's got 50 pro fights. Now, granted, now some of those are going to be in some really low level Chinese promotions, and I don't know if they're 2 rounds. Sometimes they are, but I just can't get anywhere in this. Even a total, it's like, could it go the distance? Yeah. Could somebody get clipped? Yeah. So I can't get anywhere on this. I do like the game of Costa. I just really wasn't a fan of what I saw from him last time against Steve Garcia, first of all. Both these guys have lost to Steve Garcia. What a weird tangled web that
But
is.
knockout in
Yeah.
their last fight is the
God,
Steve
and Steve
Garcia
Garcia was our
resurgence.
massive fade for a while there, and all of a sudden these are his 2 wins. Going the distance with Austin Lingo, I'm not really impressed with that either. He got beat by Tiago Moises. Just talked about Tiago, how this is the level of competition that he beats. I can't get there, man. I can't get there on anything. Like I said, to me, this fight's a total pass. This could be a live bet. I mean, that might be the way to play this whole card. Is
See
just
who
if you
looks
see
great.
something you really like, but then you're playing with these judges, and we saw it even in PFL last night. The judging is bad across the board. So no bet for me in this fight. I would lean Costa, but not a bet.
I would lean Nuerdanbieke just because of the
Same.
price.
Yeah.
Just laying minus 200 on Costa seems
Yeah.
bizarro. I mean, so you can look at this one of two ways. You can go, well, he's 1-2 in the UFC. Only beat Austin Lingo, went the distance. That doesn't look good. Remember this Tiago Moises? That was very short notice. He
Hmm.
saved a fight, so he gave them. He threw the UFC a solid. So I don't even know if I could really totally count that because he was game. He fought pretty good. It
Hmm.
just he wasn't ready for the fight, wasn't trained for it. And then Nuerdanbieke, I do like his game, but the 50 fights, that's a lot of wear and tear. And he's coming
Yeah.
off of a loss, and then you can poke holes in his game. Oh, congratulations about beating Derek Minner. Um,
TJ
so
Brown. Oof.
yeah. So it lost to Cooley. I think Nuerdanbieke is going to be able to handle the grappling if Costa wants to get in close. If Costa wants to strike, which he should, he's been low volume and high volume. So I don't know what you're going to get from him. If he decides to be high volume, I think he kind of pulls away a little bit late. But if he fights dumb, which we'll talk about bad fight IQ and how we watched several of them last night in PFL. It's dog or it's nothing. It's a dog or pass situation here. I would lean Nuerdanbieke, but mostly because of the price. But again, it's a fight that I think you're playing with fire if you bet anything on it. So Jeka Saragih, Westin Wilson. Wow, just wow. Like I guess we'll start with the legend that is Weston Wilson. Gets melted by Brito, gets melted by Silva. Do they not like him? Because now they're putting him up against another guy who the only thing he does is like strike hard. Jeka Sergey, make no mistake, he was losing to Lucas Alexander and made the Hail Mary play Where I mean, hey, listen, credit to him. He got the knockout. He's got power, but he fights like a moron. There's just playing games. Listen, I guess if you knock out Lucas Alexander the way he did, fine. But I feel like it's going to catch him. There's no world in which I'm laying this price on Jeka Saragih. I don't care
Never.
if he's fighting Westin Wilson. Westin Wilson's taller than him. And can Saragih wrestle, grapple? What happens if he gets on the ground? What happens if Weston Wilson just shoots the takedown and gets him down early? We haven't
It's
seen
not good.
Saragih. Yeah, it's probably
Not going to be
going to
good.
be trouble for him. So I think you probably have the only way that you can play this one. What do you think?
It's a total in this. I mean, I don't want to have my money on either guy. I think either guy's not UFC caliber. This is just two guys on the bottom of the roster, really, just kind of fighting out their contract. I don't think they're going to see anything from Jeka that's going to make him stick around. And Weston Wilson, let's face it, that clock's been ticking since he signed. There's only so many fights he's going to get at this level. It's under 2.5 as a parlay piece. Its fight doesn't go the distance as a parlay piece. The under 1.5 is juiced to high hell now, even as well. So I'd be a little worried about that 1.5 because I think both guys are dumb enough to get into some real bad time stalling situations. Like we could see one of them stuck up against the fence for 3 minutes, and the crowd starts to boo, and then they separate it, and then we go back to the clinch again, and click, tick, tick, tick. Yeah, I'm not picking a side. This is a parlay piece that I like for this fight card. So
Yeah,
you're gonna have to be
even
creative.
then, yeah, and even then, the unders are so juiced on this one. It's like how much value you're getting, but it
Yeah.
really is kind of the only thing that you can really do with it. I mean, laying close to minus 400 on Jack Saragih is just a recipe for disaster, absolute recipe for disaster here. So
He's 355. If he was 155, I'm still not betting him. There's no way I'm laying chalk on Jeka Saragih. And I think that if you do, you're being a little reckless here. You're trying to fade a fighter with another fade fighter.
yeah,
That never works out well long term.
Two fade fighters in the same fight. What could go wrong? So, moving on to another one of our girls, Carli Judice. So on Contender Series, we loved her against Ernesta Caricate. And what we actually liked was she had some really good performances in amateur world, and then she wins 3 fights. So the I'm going back to this Contender Series fight because I think it warrants revisiting what happened in this one. So Caricate had been low volume for her entire career. And we thought, oh, that's not going to do well because Carli Judice has got good cardio and she can strike. And then Caricate comes out and just throws more punches in that fight than she has in her entire career combined. They put on an insane fight. They both make it to the UFC, deservedly so. So Carli looked good. She started to get a little bit tired, a little bit late, but still, pretty good. And then just lost a close split decision. But it was one of those where she lost, but we were like, that was a very, very good performance. I think she might get tripped up here. Gabrielle Fernandes has just lost to Jasmine Jasudavicius and Teresa Bleda. Those two are completely different from Carli Judice. Absolutely, completely, 100%. Judice is not going to grapple, try and take down, whereas Bleda, that's all she does. I think Fernandez has got the big power advantage. I think this might be a little bit of a too big of a step up in competition for Carli Judice. And what a great get right spot for Fernandez. I mean, I know we talked about Carli Judice and, having some good performances in amateur, but she's only 3-1 as a pro. She has a long, long ways to go. On one hand, I was glad that she got the UFC contract because that individual fight deserved it. Is her skill set UFC level? I don't know. I almost would have liked to see her get a few more fights like in LFA or, something like that. My pick is Fernandez in this one because I think she's just got the more devastating power. Carli Judice, volume is probably there, but I think Fernandez lands big shots, and I think it would not surprise me at all if Fernandez knocks out Judice. I will say, face-offs, Judice was bigger. Like that was like, oh no. So here's another one I don't think I can totally get to the window to. But for purposes of this video, it's Gabriella Fernandez. What do you think?
And again, we're gonna be on opposite sides. It's. I think that Carli is gonna steal some rounds here with her volume. I do. She is gonna get hit hard and get hit early. It's just the way that she fights. She's a bit of a wrecking ball, and Fernandes is gonna oblige her, and they're gonna meet in the center and throw. Now, with Carli being so young, we don't know what we're gonna see from her. That's the thing. It's all hypothetical predictions right now. She could make massive improvements in the wrestling. We might see an outside trip. If
Yeah.
she's been working on her wrestling and she sees that Hernandez had trouble with wrestlers, why not try the wrestling out and give it a shot? She did show some pretty good clinch work in that fight on Contender. They had some time up against the cage. I think the third round, her volume is going to pay dividends in the third. So I would have Carli winning the third if it gets there. That alone right there has me put some faith in the bad judging that they're going to 1-1 this thing going into the third. The classic 1-1. So I haven't bet Carli yet. She is dog money, but I think the safer way is going to be the plus 3.5 on Carli. Because we could
Oh,
very
okay.
easily see somebody scoring this fight for her. I don't think we're going to see a 30-27 either way in this fight. And I understand your concern with the power. She could get knocked out, but man, she showed some toughness in that fight. And she never went away. Never went away. And I think looking at her body from now till Contender, I see maturity in her body. She is so young, and you saw it on the scales today. You just saw that difference. You saw what Rosas last week. He
Yep.
just looked like he started to get a bit of a man body. These guys and girls are so young, so young. So again, we're on opposite sides. I like the plus 3.5 on Carli, but it's a sketchy fight. Haven't bet it.
All right, here's one we're going to agree on. Nate Maness and Jimmy Flick. You get to go first on this one.
Oh man, Jimmy Flick, Jimmy Flick, Jimmy Flick. What else can we say about Jimmy Flick? Jimmy Flick's in trouble. He's in trouble. He got a absolute lucky matchup against probably the only worse fighter than him. What was Malcolm Gordon? Was he minus 270,
Oh, let's see
300?
here. Let's see what
Some kind of crazy number he was.
Malcolm Gordon was the favorite, like, and
Yes.
should have been.
And people were laying money hand over fist on Malcolm Gordon. And I believe you go back in our video, there's no world where I'm laying money on Malcolm Gordon. That was not happening. And it bit everybody. Those Malcolm Gordon parlays were done. Nate Maness is not Malcolm Gordon, okay? Nate Maness is a pretty dangerous fighter here. And bottom line, what any Jimmy Flick fight is, if he can't get it to the ground and his opponent isn't going to take him down, he is in trouble. I don't, especially after what just happened, I'm praying to God that we see some decent fight IQ from Nate Maness and he doesn't even shoot a takedown. The floor is lava. If the floor is lava, you beat Jimmy Flick. It's that simple. It's the Ryan Hall treatment. It's just stay on the feet. If he stays on the feet, Jimmy Flick doesn't get out of the first round. It doesn't. Again, this fight, not going the distance. Win, lose, or draw, I doubt we see a round 3. So the under 2.5, the no distance, I think there's another parlay one you could throw in. I think you're going to have to parlay to stay safe on this card.
Yeah, so Jimmy Flick, he takes a long time off, a lot of personal problems, tried to get into some other business. It didn't work out. Problems with his wife. I think they may have gotten divorced. He comes back and gets his ass kicked by Charles Johnson and Alessandro Costa. The other thing about Alessandro Costa, this goes down as a ground and pound. Alessandro Costa just destroyed Jimmy Flick's leg. He got ground and pounded because his leg was so bad he laid down, and then
Yep.
Costa jumped on him. And make no mistake, Malcolm Gordon was beating the shit out of Jimmy Flick. And you said it has to go, like Flick has to get it to the ground. Malcolm Gordon accidentally got it to the ground, and literally
It's so
accidentally,
dumb.
it was
So dumb.
He's killing him on the feet. It just oops somehow ended up in an arm triangle. It was. I mean, credit to Flick because he can do that. That's all he can do. And what makes it even more selling is so Nate Maness he beats Tony Gravely. That's a good win.
Mm-hmm.
Loses to Umar Nurmagomedov and Tajir Olbekov. Like nothing to sniff at. And then Mateus Mendonca, another bad fight IQ. Mendonca out of nowhere takes Maness down to start the fight. Maness was not ready for it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that Maness showed really good defense. Mendonca keeps grabbing onto that stupid leg lock. And Maness is like, okay, I'll sit in your half-ass leg lock. Oh, and I'm just going to just pound your head in. And I've never seen a guy get a knockout while sitting in a half-assed leg lock for like 2 minutes. It was a very strange fight, but I loved it from Maness because Maness was like, oh, I can defend this all day, and you're going to leave your head that wide open. So
Yeah.
I think he showed he could defend anything that Flick throws at him on the ground. And you're right, Maness is no dummy. I believe in the fight IQ of Maness. He's going to keep it on the feet, and it's Maness. I did. There's a way to save a little bit of money on this. So Maness, I believe money line's like minus 575. You can take minus 3.5 on Maness at minus
Oh,
400.
good idea.
Yeah, because if Maness wins, this fight is not going the distance. If Maness wins, it's probably going to be by knockout. I think he does knock out Jimmy Flick. And if Flick somehow wins, you've at least saved yourself from the 575 and just doing the minus 3.5. That is the way that I would attack that one. Olin Beckoff and Josh Van is out, which is a bummer because that was going to be a really fun fight.
We were going to learn something about Josh Van in this fight.
Yeah, it was going to be really good. So, oh well, we move on
it's
to Adam.
It's a shame too because he looked really good on the scales, and if Tagir could have made the weight and had the fight, I thought Van was going to be very live, live.
Adam Fugitt and Josh Quinlan. This might be one of our. Quinlan's checked a couple boxes with theories here. Let's talk about Adam Fugitt and Josh Quinlan here. I think we might agree on this one. Fugitt, a little bit of plus money. I'll take it. What do you think?
I like it. Josh Quinlan's a fade. He's a fade. Steroids number one. There's your first theory. Busted coming off steroids, looks bad. Here's the other theory, and we've spoke about this before, is the orbital bone issues. Once you break your orbital, you're in trouble. We've seen very few fighters come back from that injury and be able to take a punch. And Danny Barlow put a whooping on this man's face. God, his poor eye. And honestly, I was watching interviews with him, and his face doesn't look the same even. Like, you could almost still see the bruising. It's just like a little bit under the eye. Then he got clipped again. But, like, I also didn't like Quinlan's interview. It just seemed really, like, fabricated and, like, way too deep. Like, you know, thinking about being one and being present in the octagon. Like, well, you were present in the other ones when you got your face caved in. So Adam Fugitt, on the other hand, is finally relocated out of his home gym and is training at Fight Ready and training with a nutritionist and a strength. The man never did strength and conditioning. Hated it.
Not amazing.
Hated it. Now he's got a strength and conditioning coach. Said that he had the jitters. Kind of took the Mike Malott fight for granted. Being in that spot in that card, and kind of was like, whoa, this is a little bit much. So, look, both their backs are against the wall, I think, on this one. They both need a win, heavy. So, yeah, I like Fugitt. I can't hate on the plus money on Fugitt. I think somebody finishes this fight. I don't think either of these guys go to decision.
I don't think Quinlan has the power anymore.
Yeah.
Like okay, rear naked choke, punches, rear naked KO. Okay, that's fine. But after this, it just doesn't look like he hits as hard. I mean, Jason Witt, knocking out Jason Witt. Like, you better knock out Jason Witt. Like,
everybody can knock out Jason Witt. We can knock
out
Jason Witt.
Yeah. If Jason Witt ran into an open cupboard door, he might get knocked out. So, like, so it was kind of like, oh, does that throw everybody off the scent? Like, knocking out Jason Witt doesn't mean you have power. Against Trey Waters, certainly didn't look like he had power. Against Danny Barlow, certainly didn't look like he had power. And Fugitt, man, he's a dog. He'll push up against the fence. He'll clinch. He'll make it muddy. I worry a little bit about his cardio if it goes late, but I go back to the damage that Quinlan had, and this was not that long ago, man.
No,
this was February 17th. That's a few months.
Yep.
And you're right. His face was. We've seen it, man. It may look healed. Once it
What's
gets
underneath?
once it gets touched, it's like, uh-oh. We've seen it over and over. So this big whooping that Quinlan took, I think he's soft, ripe to be knocked out. I like Fugitt at plus money, and I might even sprinkle Fugitt by knockout because I think Quinlan's an ultimate fade guy right now. So.
Well, Fugitt lost him a lot. If I remember correctly, he got hurt to the body with a body kick. And then
It's
was it Malott jumped on a submission, right?
yeah, it's Mike Malott. Like
Yeah, it's
that's what
guillotine
Mike
choke.
Malott
That's
is a
what he does.
finisher.
That's what he does.
Yeah,
You're hit the nail on the head. This Josh Quinlan post steroids is not a finisher. He hit Danny Barlow clean a couple times, and Barlow just stood there.
mm-hmm.
Didn't even phase him. So yeah, I can't
Yes,
hate on
sir.
that.
Let's move on to Asu, Almabaev, and Jose Johnson. Here's another one where the price is just out of control. Out of
Hmm.
control. Should Almabaev win? Yeah, he should. But looked okay against Odie Osborne. Went to decision against CJ Vergara. I don't know. That being said, Jose Johnson he's just kind of slow.
Hmm.
He's just kind of slow. Lost to Twister, which you never see, and then he beat Chad and Hellinger, which I think is a win that is a little bit better than what people think. We correctly picked Chad and Hellinger in his next fight to win. Jose Johnson is so much taller, and I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse in this one. Is he easier to take down for Almabaev, or does the length give him some advantage? Jose Johnson better throw those front kicks to the body of Almabaev. He's got really good ones. He uses them well. My problem here with Jose Johnson and why I just can't sprinkle on him is he's just not fast enough.
Hmm.
He's just not fast enough on the feet, and I don't think he's got the power to crack Almabaev. Jose Johnson's path to victory, I think, is to work the body with those kicks, somehow get something softened up to where Almabaev's shooting is a little bit weaker. But in the first round with Almabaev at 100% energy, I think he's going to get Jose Johnson down. Jose Johnson's okay on the ground, but this is a complete stay away. Almabaev's price is out of control. At the same time, I can't bet Jose Johnson and the total. I can't get to
Hmm.
the win on anything on this fight. Do you have anything on this one, Jim?
This is a 1 round fight, not meaning that the fight's going to end in 1 round. Jose Johnson has 5 minutes to find the kill shot on Almabaev. If it gets out of round 2, he is screwed. I think he's going to be screwed. I think Almabaev is going to take over as this fight goes on. Yes and yes to answer your question. The length. Is it good for Johnson? Yes. Is it bad for Johnson? Yes. So he's going to be able to get in on the shots. I think that this Azu is a little overhyped. It's just been a plague of this all year. You win 2 fights in the UFC. This guy's the next champion. No, he's not. No, he's not.
Yeah.
We're trying to make contenders in shallow divisions where these guys aren't legit champions. They're just not. So until he proves this 4 or 5 fights for me, I'm not crowning this guy. I'm not saying he's a top 5 fighter. He's got to face some adversity yet. His strength, Ode Osborne, I'm not impressed, okay? You beat Ode Osborne, that doesn't put you on my good list. You should beat Ode Osborne if you want to be in the UFC and you want to be a top 10 fighter. So, yeah, you could live bet this thing. If Johnson clips Azu early and you don't think he can get the finish, I think you might get a good line on Azu. But no pre-fight bet whatsoever on this. This is also down a weight class for Johnson. We don't know what he's going to look like at this weight class. That's a big red flag.
Moving on to Garrett Armfield and Brady Hiestand. I think we're going head to head again. I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, you flip me. This is one
Hey!
where you flip me. I was
Okay.
going to be on Brady, and I saw Wayans, and that was the final thing. And you were on Armfield. I saw Wayans, and I didn't see the big size advantage I expected. I just expected Brady to be the much thicker fighter. And if we're going to have a fight that's going to be grappling and power wrestling and all this good stuff, then yeah, I was going to beat on Brady Hiestand. And looking back at it as well, I think we have a cardio advantage with Garrett Armfield. So this could be Brady looking good in round 1, which he usually does, and then he falls off a cliff. So if he's not going to have the size and the power and the ability to hold Garrett down, then to me it's Armfield. So you've swayed me over to this side. I am off the Brady. Full disclosure too, this was not a bet. We were just talking about this
Sure.
fight. We were
Yeah.
not betting this. But yeah, I'm kind of landing on the Armfield side. I think he squeaks out a decision in this fight. He also could get a late finish on Brady because we've seen Brady really struggle late in fights. And I can't remember Brady winning a third. Like deep in the third. I just, has it gotten there?
Yeah,
a lot
I
even.
mean, he did in his last fight against. Not sure. I don't know how much you take away from
Come on.
that. He sucks.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and here's the thing: Brady Hiestand was all beat up. He was a bloody mess when he got that. So his cardio
Fernie
was
Garcia.
yeah.
You lost to
With,
Ricky Tercios. Like I went down this list and said, I think he's right. So you
yeah.
swayed me over to the Garrett sign. Maybe we find our way on that. We'll see.
I mean, listen, Jim. He did beat Shane Sargent.
What happened to Shane? Oh,
A lot has happened to Shane. He's 0-16. Uh, this is a guy, Brady Hiestand
can we
beats.
get
Yeah,
Shane a
Freddie,
fight? Can we get Shane a fight, please?
right? Come on, BKFC. You guys have
Yeah,
put
let's
worse
get
people
Shane a
out
fight.
there than that. So, yeah. So, Garrett Armfield in his UFC debut, they bring him in um, to save a fight against Onama,
Hmm.
and I remember everyone was so mad at David Onama not finishing until round 2 because they thought Onama was going to blow through him. But if you would have done your research like we did, we knew Garrett Armfield and David Onama knew each other
Hmm.
from previous promotion, and they had fought. And they cut. It was kind of obvious that Onama was like, "I'm not going to put this guy out," because he took this on very, very short notice
Hmm.
to save this fight. And it was kind of like, "Hey, we both made it to UFC, man! Isn't this awesome?" So and then Onama, takes advantage. But Brady was, Garrett Armfield, nice performance against Kazama. Brad Katona, I still think he lost against Brad Katona, but this was one of those where the judges did not give any credence to Brad Katona's control time and grappling. They were just like, it doesn't count. And not
Hmm.
only does it not count, you lose the round because you controlled him for 30 seconds. Like that was that kind of fight because he did it in a couple rounds, but it was a great fight. It was very even. He
Yeah.
went toe to toe with Brad Katona, does get the win, didn't show any signs of cardio issues, whatsoever. And even though like Katona like kind of controlled him, it wasn't like aggressive takedowns. Armfield, kind of held his own. So I think Brady Hiestand is going to struggle to keep up cardio wise, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get Armfield down. I like Armfield on this one. I actually think Adam Fugitt at the price is kind of one of my favorite plays because I'm getting plus money on Josh Quinlan. But I got to tell you, I do like Armfield at the price. I think that's a pretty good, like,
Yeah, it's playable. Yeah, it's for sure something you could just roll it. Yeah.
or if
Yeah.
you want to put it with the 2.5 on Maness and Flick, that lowers it a
Great.
little
Yeah.
bit, something like that. So Lucas Almeida and Timmy Kwamba. So Timmy Kwamba, I know well from uh, he wins against Mateo Vogel, and I predicted that one. I like
Hmm.
Kwamba when I did the research. So he goes tough, fights tough enough, whatever. But puts on a pretty good performance against Balaji Oki, and we like Balaji Oki a
Yes.
lot. That was a very close fight, but it was against Contender Series guys, so you've got the Contender Series guy thing going on. But I do like that Kwamba's had his first fight, kind of got the rust off, kind of got the nerves, like we saw with Prates,
Hmm.
who did not look good in his first UFC fight. It's like, okay, got the first one out of the way, and then he looks great in the next one. So maybe that's going on here. There's no world which I'm betting Lucas Almeida. I think the price on Kwamba is a little bit too steep. It's probably going to keep me away. But I mean, Almeida, man, just gets smoked by Feely. Pat Sabatini handles him, and okay, he wins against Michael Trezano, but this guy lost to Zellhuber on Contender Series. I don't like him. I don't like his strike defense. I don't like his offense. I just don't think he offers up any upside whatsoever. I'm not sure Kwamba offers up upside, but what I'm going to get is 3 consistent rounds. I'm going to get pretty
Hmm.
decent striking. He's got a pretty good extensive amateur career, so it's not like he's it's he says it's 8-2 pro, but he's had a lot of amateur fights and hasn't absorbed a lot of damage. I would think Kwamba would win this one. I'm not going to get to the window on it, but there's just no world in which I'm betting on Lucas Almeida. This
Yeah.
14-3 is about as fraudulent as it gets.
Yeah, it's a real soft 14-3. A really, really soft 14-3. That's where you look down the record and go, wait a minute. Hold on here. Somebody's lying. Yeah, I'm not betting on Lucas Alexander. Also not a huge fan of Kwamba, but this might just be a tailor-made matchup for him. I don't like Lucas's durability. I think he just has a frail frame in general. But is Timmy a blitzkrieg knockout artist? I don't know.
He's not.
think
I
he
will
could
just
be
tell, I
safe
will
with
just tell you that
Kwamba.
right now. He's not.
Yeah.
Kwamba's not. That's not his style.
Right? He's more of a volume guy. He's going to stand in the pocket and trade. You might see him mix in the wrestling. I like Timmy in this spot. Again, in this spot. Next fight, I don't think I'm going to like Timmy too much. This is, again, not short notice. He has a full camp, full time. So, yeah, I'm on Kwamba. I haven't bet it yet. I just think I'm going to stay away from this fight probably unless some other info comes up. But I am not betting on Lucas Almeida. Not happening.
Nope. If you haven't hit the like button, guys, please do that. It helps us out. Helps the algorithm out. Helps Wager Talk know we're doing a good job. Leave us a comment. Tell us your best bet. Tell us how PFL went for you. Yeah, tell us your opinion on this card. I'm interested if you guys think this is a good card to bet on or not. I don't know. This one worries me. This card has devastation written all over it. Let's talk Miles Johns and Douglas Silva de Andrade. Here's another close fight I don't want anything to do with. I think it goes the distance. I think that's my only way to look at it. We've seen Miles Johns. He won his last fight. I thought Cody Gibson looked terrible and blew it.
Terrible.
It just looked terrible. Don't forget, this fight against Dan Argueta, Miles Johns, amazing cardio out of nowhere. This is a Miles Johns that's faded before, but not against Dan Argueta. It gets popped. So Cody Gibson again. You can see hints of Miles Johns starting to slow down, and Cody Gibson could do nothing with it. So I don't know what Miles Johns' cardio is going to be. I thought Cody Gibson let him off the hook with the old Dennis Green. They were. I thought they were. We let him off the hook. I thought Cody Gibson let him off the hook. Douglas Silva, de Andrade, 38. That's what kind of worries me. That being said, losses are to Saeed Nurmagomedov and Lerone Murphy by decision. So the guy's he's a dog, man. I think these guys are pretty similar. I think you're going to see a lot of clinching. On the striking, I don't think Miles Johns' striking terrifies me that much. The same thing, I think his defense is pretty good, and I'm not sure Silva de Andrade is at 38 years old ready to knock him out. I think this goes the distance. That's the only way I'm playing it. What do you think?
I think it goes the distance too. Sketchy decision.
That's a great. Is that a parlay? Goes the distance, sketchy decision.
Sketchy decision, yeah. 30-27 each way, and then the last one's 29-28.
It's a real thing that happens.
About right, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound right? I think you watch this fight and you watch John's cardio. I think that's how you got to kind of bet Miles Johns fights is you don't bet him pre-flop, because you don't know what you're going to get, man. You just don't with this guy. And Silva at that age, at this weight class, I can't bet on him. You got to try to find an edge in MMA. And sometimes the only way that you can find an edge is after you've seen a round or seen a round and a half or see something live. That's an aspect of MMA betting that sometimes doesn't get talked about enough, is live betting. If you don't get as good a number live betting, but you feel way better about it, that's value, ladies and gentlemen. When you see someone tiring, when you see Denise Gomes putting it on a girl, you bet it. You bet it. Right?
It's a classic case of live betting. That was, if ever there was a case of live betting, I was all over Mora. Mora gets caught in the guillotine, and just all of her energy was gone. It was gone. Yeah. You could just see it in that moment. So live betting.
Writing on the wall.
Yeah. So, overs maybe probably the only way to go in that one. Last fight, Alex Perez, Tatsuro Taira. I'll let you go first. What do you like?
We're gonna go head to head on this one. I know it.
Yeah, we are.
I like Taira. I've liked Taira from the beginning. I also hate Perez. So I think this Cinderella story is just, it's time. It's
Cinderella story.
It's a Cinderella. This is a Disney movie. Come on. This is Disney. They're going to make
He only won a fight. It's not exactly a great story. You want a fight.
Yeah, but they're building it up like he's back. Is my point. It's just
It's
they're
true. They
just
are
laying
building.
it
They
on,
got to do
man.
something. They got to try and
Laying it
sell it
on.
here.
Who was it that said it best? I forget who I was watching, but they say when you fly, sometimes you fly too close to the sun, and I wonder if this is that spot for Perez. These short notice fights, this weight cut, back to back to back. I think Taira's legit, man. We had spoke about how weak this division is. This division could be as weak. Is it weaker than heavyweight? This could be one of the weakest divisions in UFC. It's up
Pretty
there.
bad. It's pretty bad.
I mean,
I
look what
mean,
he did to Mateus Nicolau, who was supposed to get the title shot.
I
And
mean, it's
now
pretty
Kate
clear
can't get it.
the winner of this gets the title shot,
Has
right?
to.
I mean,
Has
it's
to.
yeah.
Has to. And Pantoja didn't look fantastic. And I get Steve Urseg. Come on, it's a weak division. Tyra's got a good amount of fights for as young as he is. What I like about Taira is that he doesn't use his wrestling to wrestle. He uses his wrestling to set up his back takes and his submission game. And that's Perez's weakness. If you try to folk wrestle Perez, he's going to be able to defend it. He's a solid wrestler from that perspective. But his submission defense has always been his Achilles heel. Now, Mateus Nicolau just decided to dance around the outside of the cage and get clipped by him and not even try the wrestling. So I would not be shocked to see Taira get to Perez's back early. Now, whether he can finish him, that is where I would worry on the Taira side. Because we do not know. This is a 5-round main event. I don't know what this is going to look like late. But I have faith in the fact that Taira is going to be able to get to the back of Perez. And throughout Perez's entire career, he has proven that when somebody gets to his back, he cannot get them off, and the fight is finished. They get the choke. So if you're not going to folk wrestle and you're going to go for the submission game, I like it. I think Taira is way better technical stand-up than Nicolau, than Makayev. So, yes, Perez has looked great in the stand-up, but this, no doubt, is the toughest stand-up opponent that he's had in 2 fights. So, again, stock is high on Perez. I think we're getting a discount on Taira here. So, anything under minus 200, I was comfortable playing on Taira.
I will take Alex Perez as the dog here. This falls into the category of Tatsuro Taira is not going to end his career undefeated. I can poke some holes in some of these guys. He's fought Carlos Candelario, CJ Vergara, Jesus Aguilar. Edgar Chairez couldn't finish. And Edgar Chairez is a tough guy. I believe Chairez took that on short notice. And then I think my takeaway is I think this fight against Carlos Hernandez gave him a little bit too much confidence in his striking. He knocks out Carlos Hernandez, which is fine. Carlos Hernandez is, I don't know. This is a guy that
He's not great. He's not great.
no, he's definitely not great. I mean, he beat Bondar, that's his big win, and Victor Altamirano. Those two are bottom of the barrel there. So this is a huge step up in competition for Taira, going from Carlos Hernandez to Alex Perez, and I also think Alex Perez is completely playing with house money. I think that's how he fought in the Nicolau fight. And it was very obvious from the beginning Nicolau was asleep. Just asleep at the wheel. I don't know what he was doing, if it was a bad weight cut or if he was sick or what, but Nicolau looked terrible. And credit to Perez, man. Perez hunted him down, and Nicolau was trying to run away, and it wasn't happening. So I didn't think he looked that terrible against Makayev. I mean, Makayev just tried the chain, the takedowns and the chain wrestling takedowns, whatever you want to call it. I wonder if we get Taira coming out who's feeling himself about knocking out Carlos Hernandez. He says, I'm going to stand toe to toe with Alex Perez. Watch this. And he gets caught. And if Perez pops him a couple times, even if it doesn't knock him out, it's going to be in a world where Taira's never been before. And if Perez can take him into deep waters, we may see Taira in positions where he's just never been. So I think this is where Taira gets tripped up. I think Perez, you said the Cinderella story. Get one fight. He won all fight. I think the Cinderella story continues. I'm team Acai Berry or Acai Berry, however you pronounce it. Acai Berry. Yeah, I want to invest in Alex Perez's side hustle. Actually, it's the hustle. The UFC is the side hustle, apparently. which goes against everything that we believe in is the side hustle thing. But um, I'll take Perez at the plus money. I just these undefeated fighters, man, they're gonna lose,
Hmm.
and Tyra needs a fight. And here's the thing: they need to lose to
They
learn
do.
lessons. That's how you get better. I think this is the fight Tyra loses. I think he gets caught early. I don't know if Perez finishes him, but I think if Perez wobbles him, it really, really negates the ground game of Tyra because I don't know if he has the, just have the energy to survive
Hmm.
after getting popped. So I'll take a little bit on Perez there. So it's a bad card to bet on, guys.
Yeah.
Do not bet on this just because you're watching it. Don't bet on it just because there's if you're watching hockey or whatever, throw some bets on UFC. Don't do it. Protect that bankroll. There are better spots to bet on.
We
So
have we have PFL next week. We have another card next week.
plenty
It's
of
one thing that me and Andy have been speaking about is look at you. You have to look 2 weeks ahead in MMA. You can't be
yeah.
weekly saying, "Oh, who's fighting this week?" So look ahead, and if there's spots you like better next week, just lay off, go light, control your bankroll, manage it properly. We're not even halfway through the year yet. Okay, we are literally what? We're right at the halfway mark for the year.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have a whole everything you've done this year, you can double. Just be responsible.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about our experience with PFL last
Hmm.
night. I think there's some lessons to be learned on it. I don't know what's your takeaway from last night PFL because we got an event coming up next week as well.
I'm happy with the results. What I'm upset about is being cautious on spots I shouldn't have been cautious about, and being bullish on spots I shouldn't have been bullish about. And lucky for us, it worked out. But there was a couple real obvious spots that I said, man, we should have went harder on, and they were very obvious. A couple unders. I mean,
Yeah.
we could have got some unders for -200, under -200 that were no sweat. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely no sweat. Chasing dogs, not a good idea. Like, I thought a lot of the game. You want to speak about the game plans, because I know that was part of what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, a couple just horrific fight IQs, and unfortunately, that's something you can't put into your
Yeah.
handicapping. We didn't bet on. I mean, you bet on Shanna Young, you
Yep.
liked her, and then she came out and did the exact opposite of what you thought she would have done. And if she would
Yep.
have tried the wrestling grappling takedown, she has a much better result. We saw at the very end of the fight, she commits to a takedown, easily grabs the opponent's back, and it's like, where was this all fight? Instead, you
Hmm.
stood at distance and let a striker out strike you. It was terrible. We got the ultimate bailout on Liz Carmouche, who again,
Hmm.
Liz Carmouche been around forever. What is up with your fight IQ? Why aren't you disengaging and pounding Watanabe? Pounding. Anytime she did strike, she hit Watanabe in the chin. Dead
Yep.
on. Watanabe folds over. No, I'll jump guillotine. What is going on
Yeah,
there?
it was bad.
We won a lot on Liz Carmouche, but what was frustrating is you and I live bet because she was losing. Like
Yeah,
Liz
we
Carmouche
hedged
was
heavy.
getting dominated. And so we ended up giving away a bunch of our profits because of just bad fight IQ. So that was a frustrating thing. And yes, you're 100% right. I am very, very low volume, and now I'm kind of realizing that PFL you almost have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be high volume because every card, man, we were like, what's the bet that kills everybody? Well, it's Tyler Santos by finish.
Yep.
That was the one that killed everybody. Moldovsky,
See, that's
that
what I'm proud of, is that we avoided the two biggest parlay busters on the night. We got lucky with Liz. I'll admit it. Everybody who bet Liz got lucky with Liz. But Tyler by finish was one of the most bet props, and everybody was on Moldovsky in the main event. Last fight, anchor of all their parlays.
yeah.
Like, we avoided them entirely, those two options. So there's some good and some bad with PFL. I think there's learning lessons going forward.
I think that the parlays on PFL are big play hit, but it was Tyler Santos, and it was Santos money line, Goltsoff money line, and I believe Ditcheva was in there, and those were good. And honestly,
Hmm.
that was just the one. That was
Yeah.
that was just the one.
The Ditcheva round one, or under one
Yeah,
and a half for Ditcheva, that was an opportunity missed.
Yeah, that's a good one. And also,
135 was a good number.
I should have, we'll pull it up. We can go through some of these. Inaba and Orozco, I'm glad we stayed away from that one. Corbin was 100% right on
Great
Velasquez.
call.
Malden looked terrible, just awful.
That was a knocked out previously 2 months ago situation. So that's a great call by Corbin. Because Malden getting finished twice in a row. I mean, that's because of the knockout.
Tim Johnson, the kick to the balls and the KO, but the under was a no sweat because you got Danilo Marquez. It's got no chin. That was a missed opportunity. That's one of them you're talking about, right?
Yep. Big one.
Yeah. Joanne and Shana Young, just terrible fight IQ there. Fortune and Golm, man, we put that in we tried a hero parlay, and we thought it would go under, and it was just two big guys that ended up wrestling, and I guess it was kind of a mistake with Tyrell Fortune.
We were so close to getting it. Like it just the end of the round.
That is true. We were 2 seconds away from hitting that one. So Popoff and Franklin, I wish we would have done more with Popoff. We hit a couple plays, but Davian Franklin was awful. As soon as he got on the ground, he couldn't do anything with it. And Tyler Santos and Jenna Bishop, really never close to being finished. Tyler Santos was never close.
3-round wrestling match.
Yep. Yeah, so that was a good one for the Carmouche and Watanabe. Listen, it's a results, but I say this about unlucky losses. We'll say it about lucky wins. It's a results-based business. We cash it, but we dodged a bullet. This is my big mistake.
That's the one where you should have not listened to me.
This is the one where it was just like, how does Goltsov not finish Thiago Santos? Like, it checked all the boxes. Thiago Santos, short notice. Knees are shot. He's collecting paychecks. He looked out of shape. Goltsov could have used the finish to cement his points. That one was the one that should have been on. And it was a great price. That was the other stupid thing was you weren't like minus 400.
Was it 135?
Yes, it was.
Even fight not to go the distance was 170.
Yeah.
Like that's a stupid number.
Yeah. So that one was one. Ditcheva went and then we correctly laid off of Moldovsky and Vassal. And this is another one. Live lines. Live betting, round 3 when you can tell Moldovsky was dying. Vassal was.
That's here's another thing with PFL to learn. That's 2 main events, heavyweight main events, that have killed everybody. Killed everybody. D'Elia tears his groin.
Yeah.
Now you get the big favorite losing a decision because he gets caught with a knee in the second while he's winning the round. I mean, it's just stay away from these main events. Yeah, as I say that.
I say that we just look at the PFL next week. Of course, we'll do the breakdown video next week. But yeah, we like a lot. We like some of these, and then others we probably just need to lay off and go heavier on some of the other ones. That's the nature of PFL. When you got something like Holtzov and Santos and Ditcheva, then you just pile on. And there's a few of them next week, but there's also some of them that you probably don't want anything to do with. So we pick our spots. I love this guy's hair, Carl Albertson. I can't wait to look him up. So he looks like, you remember the romance novels, like when we were kids and 80s in the supermarket? Doesn't he look like one of those guys, Fabio?
He's like a toga on.
Yeah, on a horse in Nebraska with a log cabin.
There's some real good opportunities here in PFL this coming week. So, again with the weirdness of UFC, this UFC 300 hangover is lasting way more than I thought it was.
It's just
back to normal a month.
Snowball ripple
it's getting
effect.
Worse. It's affecting the whole year, and I think there's more value in PFL from a betting perspective than UFC at this point.
Absolutely.
At least you know what you're going to get.
Yeah. So sneaky card. This would be a good one to not watch and lay off for the UFC tomorrow. So, all right, that's going to do it. Good luck. Be careful with your bets, guys. Just be very, very careful. This card has disaster written all over it. So I don't know if we're going to have many official bets, but maybe one. May get to the window on one of them. So we'll see. So hit the like button, leave us a comment. Good luck on your plays, and we will see everyone next time on PFL video. PFL breakdown for next week will be the first one out. So we'll see everybody then. Good luck and have a great weekend.
Good luck, guys.